Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ritu Dhawan. I'm a psychologist with specialization in child development. I taught in Delhi University and IGNOU for a couple of years, and now I have my own setup, Unnati Pathways. In today's session, we would decode the psychology of children between 5 to 10 years of age. We'll try to understand the what, why, and how of their thinking pattern, which gets reflected in the behavior of the children. Sometimes parents and teachers get very baffled by the way children of this age group behave. Let's try and understand the reason behind their behavior, the reason behind their behavior, the reason behind their tantrums, and illogical pattern of behaving. There are Jean Piaget, a very eminent psychologist, studied the qualitative changes of thinking, of cognition, from birth to early adolescence. He divided this entire age span into 4 stages. The first stage being the sensory motor stage, which starts from birth and ends at 2 years. The second stage, which is called the pre-operational stage, which begins at 2 years and ends at about 7 years, followed by the concrete operational stage, which culminates at about the age of 12 years. And the last stage, which is called the formal operational stage, ends in early adulthood. Now, each stage has definite important characteristics. Let's have a look at some of the characteristics of the pre-operational stage. Symbolic representation is a very important characteristic of this stage, which means that the child starts to imagine things rather than doing everything himself. The child is able to make a symbolic connection between things. For example, in the development of language, the child is able to now think and communicate. His vocabulary increases. He is able to express himself in terms of words and sentences. And what are words? Words are symbols which are there for objects, Now, his symbolic representation also gets reflected in the symbolic pretend role play that we see very often in children of this age group, where they play the role of another person, maybe a parent, mother, father, and they enact that role. Now, another important point that we see is that the children, what they enact is what they see actually, what they see their parent doing, or what they see their teachers doing, So one has to be very cautious as a parent and teacher that you're being observed, all the time by the children around you. Another important feature of this stage is that the children have trouble distinguishing between what is fantasy and what is real. For example, they feel that Santa is real, that Santa is somebody who is real and who comes every Christmas and gives gifts. Fairies are real, right? And even the demons and the monsters that they see in various television programs, they feel that they are real, and sometimes they fear them, they feel scared of them, and their fear is related to the fact that they cannot distinguish between what is fantasy and what is reality. Magic is another thing that fascinates children of this age, because again, magic is fantasy world for them. It's much later that the children are able to understand that magic is based on tricks. It's nothing real about magic, Animism is another characteristic which you see in the children, which is attributing lifelike qualities to inanimate objects, like feeling that his teddy bear has emotions and feelings just like him. So the child likes to feed the teddy bear because the teddy bear is hungry. The child puts him to sleep because he feels that it is sleep time for him. He's tired. Centration is another very important characteristic of this age group, which is the tendency to focus on one aspect of anything and ignore other aspects. For example, if you show a child during this age group a pile of coins and scattered coins on a table, he will say that scattered coins have more number of coins rather than the pile, because he's just focusing on one object, on one aspect, like the scatteredness. He does not take into account that the number of coins at both the places are same. Now this seems to be very illogical to us, but this is one of the characteristic of his thinking pattern, and which does lead to illogical thinking at times. Now, from centration emerges egocentrism, which means that the child is unable to take into account other people's perspective. He focuses only on his own perspective, his own thinking. He's not able to relate to other people's thinking pattern. He feels that he is at the center of the universe, and whatever he wants to do and the way he does things, everybody else should do a similar thing. As the child grows, he matures, his thinking pattern matures. As he steps into the next stage, which is the concrete operational stage. Now, the thinking pattern of the child is still related to empirical reality. Though in certain areas he grows, he's able to conserve, he's able to classify, he's able to seriate things. But still, his thinking and his reasoning ability is only related to the actual experiences he has in life. He still finds it very difficult to deal with hypothetical propositions. He cannot think in terms of thinking of others. Now, certain improvements from the previous stage do take place even in terms of other concepts like memory. His long-term memory increases. He's able to recall things which he learned long time back. His concept of self goes in a change. It becomes more realistic. Earlier, he would only concentrate on what he thinks. He would think that he is the best. But now his concept of self becomes more realistic. He understands that he has certain good points and he understands he has certain limitations. Similarly, in the area of emotional development also, in the age group 5 to 7 years old, you usually see a lot of children throwing tantrums. So throwing tantrums is a way of getting what they want. So his emotions are not so much under his control. The internal control is missing during that age group, which he starts to learn and develop as he grows in age. Now he is able to regulate his emotions internally, where to show, how much to show, where not to show his emotions. With this, I feel that you would have been able to understand the psychology, the thinking pattern of the children in a better way.